Hello and welcome to episode 26 of the Rugged Angel podcast. I am your host, Camila, and I'm happy that you're back. I want to give some shout outs to the top 5 cities who have been listening to the show. Pittsburgh, PA, Chicago, Illinois, Kyle, Texas, I'm not sure where that is, Colorado Springs, Colorado, and Mountain View, California. Thank you guys for being loyal listeners. If you are in one of those cities, I want to hear from you. Send me an email at ruggedangel@gmail.com or just drop a line on Facebook at Rugged Angel Productions or shout out on Twitter, _Rugged Angel. Just a heads up, this show, the Rugged Angel podcast, will be on hiatus come November. Just need some time to regroup and plan out the next season of Rugged Angels that I will be talking to. But I will be back in January. This podcast will be back in January. And you can still catch me personally on the Down to Watch podcast as well as the Scandalized podcast. And there might be another podcast coming down the line soon. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you go to ruggedangel.com and just to be able to keep up with everything that's going on. This episode 26 is with Cerece Rennie Murphy, author of the Order of the Seers Trilogy. She is an amazing woman. I met Cerece over a year ago at AwesomeCon in DC, and her personality instantly drew me in, and we became friends. Long distance, but still we keep in touch. But she is one of the most intelligent, funny, and real women that I know, and I just really appreciate her taking the time out to talk to me for this episode. Like I said, you can check out her books, The Order of the Seers Trilogy, and also she has just released a children's book called Ellis and the Magic Mirror. So if your children love fantasy and good times and just awesome storytelling as well as great pictures, you should check that out also. And also, if you're going to be at New York City Comic-Con October 8th through 11th, check her out. She'll be a literary guest. You can go to her website, CereceRennieMurphy.com, for all of her information of where she's going to be and what she's up to. Like I said, Cerece is one of the most just interesting and amazing people that I know, and I'm super stoked to let you listen to this almost 2-hour-long conversation I had with her. I don't apologize for it running over. You won't be sorry because it's extremely interesting and entertaining. So, we're going to get into it. Enough of me blabbering. And remember, the strongest people aren't always the people who win, but the people who don't give up when they lose. Ashley Hodgkins. Cerece Murphy, welcome to the Rugged Angel podcast.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm
Oh,
excited.
I'm so happy to have you on. I wish we could be doing this in person, but it just didn't. It turned out
Oh,
as it didn't work out that way. Cerece is in DC and I am in Pittsburgh, but hopefully we will get a chance to see each other again in person soon. How are you doing? How's your day today?
it was great. It was great. I purposefully did not drive myself crazy and go overboard with like work expectations. So whenever I
Excellent.
can manage that, it's always a good day.
Excellent. I love to hear that. So, we're just going to like have a little conversation here. We're just going to talk about you for an
Yay.
hour, and hopefully you're cool with that.
I am.
All right.
Me,
Oh.
me.
Well, tell me
Sorry.
about where you grew up. Where are you from? Are you from DC
Oh
originally?
gosh, I am born and raised,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, it's a city I love, and yeah, I grew up in a neighborhood that other people thought was bad, but I
Hmm.
thought it was a great neighborhood. I mean, there were always people around all the time. I didn't know that a lot of them were selling drugs, but they were always around and really polite and friendly. And the reason for that was because my dad is crazy, and he let all of them know that yeah, that they should not approach his daughters in any other way than a polite way. And so
Nice.
they did that. And so I grew up in DC in the 80s in the height of the crack trade with a
Oh.
very sort of sheltered and idyllic kind of setting in the city. We could walk everywhere. We'd go to the movies. We'd save our bus money and get ice cream and just it was just a couple friends and my parents. They all knew each other, and I just remember the city being fully open to us and full of possibilities. And because we had boundaries, we knew what we could do and what we couldn't do. We all just kind of stayed together and had a great time. And so I just grew up feeling like this was a city with lots of possibilities, and I just had to sort of choose my place in the world, but that it was all there and open to me.
Nice. So, do you have brothers and sisters growing up?
I do. I have 5 siblings.
Oh, wow. Where do you fall in
Yeah.
the line?
I turned out being in the middle. It's a little
Oh.
interesting. Yes. I have 5 siblings, but none of us have the same mom.
Okay.
So I met my sister, my oldest sister, when I was like 4 or 5, and she came to live with us, and that was wonderful. And then I met my oldest brother when I was around 12. I knew my youngest brother, but I didn't know he was my brother. So this is really illuminating about my family life.
Wow.
I didn't know he was my brother. Well, I knew because we look alike, but he wasn't officially my brother until later. My youngest
How did you
sister,
meet him? How did you come across him?
Sorry, Dad. You know, we used to babysit him.
Oh, okay.
And yes.
Oh.
And, yeah. It was a little crazy. But, to my mom's credit, I always wanted lots of siblings. And, even though things were clearly complicated, my mom always said, this has nothing to do with the kids.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
You have brothers and sisters, and you guys should be close. And we are. I mean, yeah, so it's wonderful. I mean, through her love and her generosity, I got to have this big family that I always wanted.
Oh.
And, we're really close, and everybody's really close to my mom because my mom's like an angel. And so that's great. My youngest sister is 10. My second youngest is 19. And then from there, like my youngest brother is 33. I'll be 43 in November. My sister, would not want me to tell her age, but she's older. And then my brother is a little older than that. So yeah, that's my family.
Oh, that's a trip. But it's good that you guys are all so close, especially seeing it. It seems like it was like the age difference it's kind of a gap in a lot of the ways.
Yes, but with my second youngest, I felt so grateful to be able to be a little sister to a little sister because I was always the little sister. You know what I mean? So that was this whole new experience that I got to have, and that was wonderful. And I feel that way with my youngest.
Do you prefer being an older sister or a younger sister?
I think now, yeah, I love being an older sister. I think when I was younger, I wouldn't have liked it as much.
Because I'm an older sister, and I just have the younger sister, and sometimes you go through life and you don't want to like pigeonhole people into certain ways, but you do tend to recognize the older siblings versus like younger siblings just in age difference or just when people are even as adults. And my husband, he's a younger sibling, and he has a lot of behaviors that are like, everything I have, he wants to have it, that kind of thing. And sometimes I have a problem with sharing because I'm an older sibling. So it's just like, it's funny to me.
You're oversharing.
Yes.
Sharing. Yeah. Unfortunately, my older sister, Monica, isn't here to be like, amen, yes. Can I just have a sandwich by myself?
Right. Can I just please have something that is just my own?
I mean, I feel you, but I don't, well, I know I hear you, but I don't really feel you because
That's cool.
I was the younger sister,
Right.
I know exactly how much you had to share because I was always like, Monica, what you eating? What Yeah, we're annoying. Like,
But it's fine. I love my sister, and we as after we stopped having to share a bedroom, I believe is when things got much better in our
yeah,
relationship.
yep,
Um, so, did you guys all go to the same school? Well, I know like the 10-year-old and other ones, but
no,
were you guys all the
no,
same school?
we were all over. I mean, we were in the general DC area, but all
Mm,
over the place. Yeah.
okay. And what was
So,
your high school experience like? Yours?
ooh, my high school experience was interesting. I grew up in DC, as I said, and DC had and still pretty much has one of the worst public school systems in the country. So
Really?
I went, oh yes, it's sad. I know the nation's capital. How's this happen? But
Yeah.
anyway, there's a lot. That's a whole other podcast right there.
Indeed.
Um, yeah. But let's just say my parents are from Grenada and Trinidad. They
Oh.
knew the Catholic school system. So where we lived, as I said, was sketchy
Mm.
sometimes. And so they, looking at their young girls, they'd look outside and they'd see the kids and they were like, okay, so where do they go to school? Okay, right. So that's not where you're going to school. So I went to a private Catholic school throughout my elementary school and high school. And for high school, my elementary school was it was very diverse in every single way. It was
Mm.
racially, ethnically, culturally, and economically diverse.
Uh-huh.
So you had doctors sending their kids there, and you had cab drivers sending their kids there,
Mm.
and that was a wonderful experience. My high school was very, very different.
Mm.
It was in a very ritzy part of Maryland. I had
Mm.
to take two buses and a train to get there.
Oh my goodness.
Um, but it was an excellent college preparatory school. I mean, college was a breeze because my high school kicked my butt in every single way. Um, and I'm grateful for them for it. But it was it was like it was like bizarro world. I'd never met rich people before my
Mhm.
high school, or rich people and people who thought they were rich. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And there's a difference.
Right. Yeah.
You got just enough to think you're rich.
Uh-huh.
I'd never met people like that. These were to this day, some of the most intelligent women I'd ever met. I mean, they were just so smart. And what they were worried about is whether or not they were going to marry well, or
Oh
whether or not,
goodness.
you know what, you're going to get me in trouble. I can't share this podcast with anybody. By the time I'm done, oh well, okay. So yeah, they were worried.
Feel free to omit anything you want. You don't have
I know.
to.
I'm realizing it's not in me though. Yeah. Some of them were worried about whether or not they were going to marry well, and whether or not they were going to get a Beamer or a Mercedes for their 16th birthday
Oh, sweet
to
fancy
drive.
motors.
I mean, and like stressed out about it. You know
Wow.
what I mean? Not
Yeah.
like what the social implications would mean if they get the beginner Beamer as
Mm.
opposed to the other. So fortunately for me,
Mm.
none of this had anything to do with me. Not
Right.
only did I mean, not only was I not getting a car, like I wasn't
Right.
even bothering to get a license because I knew the one car we had, nobody was letting me near. So I was like, I
Exactly.
don't have to stress out about my driver's license because
Right.
I'm not getting one.
That's how I
So
felt too, because I didn't even get my license till I was like 18. I was like, why bother?
oh, honey, try late 20s. I wanted to make sure I could afford a car because I thought it's going to be so long, till I can drive. I don't want to
Right.
have the license and forget it. So let me time those together. That was my world.
Nice.
So I just kind of sat in the back of the classroom with this is just like an alien world. And I went to school with these aliens. We had lunch together, but we were not a part of the same universe.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really good, in retrospect, I'm really glad that I took it that way. And part of why I took it that way is because by the time I got to high school, I knew who I was. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
that makes
So
a really big difference because you could
it
have
makes
easily
it
just
makes
like slipped
all the
into
difference.
that kind of, starting to stress yourself and try to stress your family out about the
Yeah,
same things, materialistic
yeah.
things.
No, it was wonderful for me. So I spent that 4 years being in an environment that was very rigorous and challenging. It was an all girls school,
Oh.
which, was wonderful actually. And I didn't realize how wonderful until later, until I went to college.
Hmm.
In that there was just this culture of excellence of women. I mean, I remember
Hmm.
my history teacher, Miss Cox, used to say, she'd start every class with, "Good morning, women." And she, I mean, she's just awesome, this little redheaded woman, and she would engage us in political debates. And it wasn't if you would speak up, that
Hmm.
was expected.
Right.
It was what you would say and how well you would make your argument.
Excellent.
And that was, again, I just took it for granted. I was like, okay, I'm here, I'm
Hmm.
keeping up. I'm keeping up. I
Right.
mean, these girls are smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's only until I reached, college and saw girls dumbing it down so that their
Hmm.
boyfriend wouldn't be intimidated. And I was just like, what are you doing? I know you know that answer. Speak up. What are you talking about? It's then that I realized what my high school was trying to make such a big deal about.
Isn't
You
it
know what I mean?
absolutely frustrating to watch a woman try to shrink herself or dumb herself down
Oh,
because of a male presence or because that's not what we're supposed to be about, that kind of thing. And it even, and you don't come across it as often in 2015, but it still happens and it's still hurtful. Like it actually hurts my feelings to see something like that.
it does. And I have to say, it's been a while since I worked for somebody else,
Hmm.
but not that long
Hmm.
ago. And I would say it's still extremely prevalent in
Hmm.
certain environments. And it's hurtful, but more than that, it's mind boggling.
Hmm.
Because you have to be there, right? You
Right.
have to be in that meeting.
Right.
If you're not going to be engaged, you could be somewhere else. Like literally, you should get up and
Absolutely.
leave and go somewhere where you are going to be plugged in.
Right.
So if you have to sit through the meeting, you got to speak up just to keep yourself awake, right? At
Yeah.
least that's how I am. You know
Yeah.
what I
No,
mean?
I totally feel you that way.
Yeah, you got to just to stay awake. You're there otherwise it's a complete waste of your time.
Hmm.
And why would you waste your time? It's the only thing that you can never get back.
Right.
So
That's one
you
of the, that
have
is
to
like my
plug
one of my
in.
most valuable at somebody was asking me
Yeah.
something the other day about trying to advance, and I have this job that it's essentially it's there for the simple fact of to make sure that my we have a two-person income household. And so I'm there and, someone asked me about like doing overtime or something like that or doing extra, this, that, or there. It's like, my time is much more important to me than the actual like getting this so-called overtime and, this extra money. It's just, I just, I come here, I do my 40 hours a week and that's it. Just let me be. Just
Yeah.
let me peace out. And because I have so many other things going on outside of this entity
Yes.
that I need to concentrate on me. So yeah, so I totally get you about time is absolutely valuable.
Yeah. And so I look at when I see that happening and I'm just like are you like why are you doing like you're here. You have to speak. Like that's literally the reason why you're here. And
Hmm.
if even if nobody knows why you're here, like they're paying you, but they don't quite know why they're paying you, or you know what I mean? They think they're paying you for X, but you got
Right.
X, Y, and Z.
Right.
You have to bring X, Y, and Z. You
Right.
know what I mean? And that's just I don't know. I guess it's a product of my high school, but it's also a product of my parents. My dad, my sister, and I were raised together, and it was always expected that we needed to be financially independent. We needed
Hmm.
to be smart. Like that's just how we were expected to do that. Even
Right.
if, he wasn't sure in terms of how to guide us how to,
Hmm.
he expected that. And my mom definitely was like, my girls are going to go far and you're going to get an education. I mean, that's what she, crossed, the ocean to be. I mean, my
Hmm.
mom came from Trinidad at 17,
Oh wow.
to get her GED and go to Howard University.
Hmm.
And
And
my
you said your
grandmother
father.
sent her. I'm
You
sorry,
said your father came from Grenada.
Grenada,
Grenada.
Grenada. hmm And yeah, he came. He'll tell the story. He came to this country with $23 in his pocket
Wow. So what
and
was
drove a
that
cab.
culture? What was the culture like in your household?
Um, very, you know, very patriarchal. My dad was, the authority.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Education was trumped everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything. My parents weren't concerned with sports. Not like you needed to get good grades. That's what you needed to do. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Right.
And there was never like a discussion about college. Like,
Mm-hmm.
would you go? Like that
It's
wasn't
it's more like
it.
what college are you going to?
What college are you going to? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you going to pay for it?
Right.
That, but that was it. My dad drove a cab to put
Mm.
himself through the School of Architecture at Howard.
Wow.
My mom worked full time and went to school part time
Mm-hmm.
to put herself through Howard. So it was like you can do this. It
Mm-hmm.
might you might not be able to go 4 years full time. You might not have those resources, but you
Mm-hmm.
are going to go, or we you know kill you. So you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah.
That
Your
was
family is no stranger to hard work, essentially.
yeah. And it was just expected. So
Mm-hmm.
that was really wonderful. Also, there was given. We lived where we lived very purposefully. My dad used to talk a lot about you know if you want your neighborhood to be better, you have to make it better. You can't just move out to some
Ah,
nice place.
yes.
You
Mm-hmm.
have to make your neighborhood better. You have to stay. You have to invest. And
Mm-hmm.
that's part of why I, grew up feeling like, oh, wow, look at all this potential. We can do all this stuff. You know what I mean? That was, and later when I got my master's in social work, my dad was like, I remember he's like, you're not going to make any money. He's like, where did I go wrong with you? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, this is what you kept saying. Remember, we have to
Right.
make our neighborhood better? He was like, yeah, but I thought you'd be like a lawyer or something, He was like, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean you literally. It was so funny. And he was proud when I finished, but he was really like when I told him what I was doing, he was just like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
where did I go wrong?" My mom, on the other hand, was like, "Whatever you want to do, dear, that I support you." She's always supportive, even if she
Mhm.
thinks I'm doing something crazy. She's always supportive. But yeah, that was my household. So it was this great and challenging and difficult, heartbreaking and uplifting mix of
Mhm.
discipline, um, high expectations,
Mhm.
uh, patriarchy, and love.
Mhm.
You
That's
know,
beautiful.
yeah,
That's
it was beautiful.
would
It
you
made me who I am.
yeah. Did you stay in the same neighborhood, the same house your entire childhood, like throughout your childhood, or
Yes,
did you
yes.
guys wow.
We moved. Yeah, when I was 4 or 5, we moved from the apartment to the house,
Mhm.
and that was it.
What was that
Yeah.
like? I mean, that has to be because we moved around a lot when I was growing up, so I don't really know that feeling of like being in one place for such a long time and seeing things around you either grow or decay, or watching everybody else around you, just seeing all the differences and all the changes that happen.
It was
Like,
wonderful.
was it a really nice? Was it a very tight community? Were there a
Yes,
lot of families that were there for the long haul?
there were a lot of family. My neighbor is still there.
Oh
Tim is
wow.
still there sweeping the 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 sidewalk every morning. He
Oh,
would
bless
sweep
his
the
heart.
sidewalk before he went to work every single morning. And I drove by there like a while ago, and there he was sweeping the sidewalk. He had a day job and all that, but
Mm,
again, that sense of this is our community.
yeah.
We don't care what anybody else thinks about it. We are going to pick up this trash, and if you don't agree with me, well, maybe you will tomorrow. But right now,
Hmm.
I'm picking up this trash. Yeah, there are people because when I graduated, I worked at a when I graduated from the the school social work, my first job was to work at a community development corporation that was right around the corner from the house that I grew up in,
Oh,
which was
nice.
my perfect job. Like, it's what
Yeah.
I wanted to do.
Uh,
And I would walk down the street. Oh, you Mr. Reddy's daughter. How you doing? I remember you when you were little baby. I mean, it's wonderful. I can say that it's a wonderful, stabilizing, rooting experience.
hmm
And that's why, when I was going to my high school and, seeing all the difference, it didn't bother me because I went home and I was rooted somewhere.
Right.
And that's kind of, I mean, I went away to college and stuff, but I always knew I would come back and raise my children here because I wanted them to have what I had,
Nice.
minus,
Where,
the open air drug market. You know.
so, where did you end up going to college?
I went to Pepperdine. I went to California. I went to, quite literally, the
California.
farthest. Yeah, I went to the farthest place that I could get from my house in the continental U.S., which
Wow.
was my plan.
Was it the only school that you applied to, or were there other
It
ones that?
it wasn't, but it was the one I really wanted to go to. Not because I knew a whole lot about Pepperdine.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, I remember being with my friend in the college office in my high school, and I wasn't going on any college tours. You know what I mean? I mean,
Right.
everybody. I knew Howard. Howard was 5 blocks from me. You know what I mean? So
Right. He's
I
like, got
didn't.
that one done. Toured.
Yeah, I got that one. I've been there. My cousins, came from. Yeah, I knew that. I remember thinking, how far can I get away from my home and still be one flight back to my mom? And my friend Samiha said, well, we were like, oh, well, California. And I thought, okay, well, that's a big state. Like, where should I go? And she said, oh, my cousin went to this place called Pepperdine. I hear it's really nice. So I flipped through the Barron's Book of Colleges, and I found
Mm-mm.
Pepperdine. I looked at the SAT. Like, this was the strategy. I looked at the SAT scores. I thought, okay, I can get in. It's small liberal arts because I heard that's where you go when you don't know what you want to do. You go small liberal arts school, and I applied. I had no idea what it looked like. I didn't care. I was
Wow.
like, yeah, that was me. So I applied to a couple other places, but I thought this is very far away, and I'm going to be in debt, so
Mm.
I might as well travel.
Yeah, I guess
that
so. At least.
that was it. I applied. They were the first people who wrote back. I got a scholarship, and I told Mommy, I said, I'm going.
Wow.
And she's like, wow, that's far. I said, but Mommy, I can be back in one plane trip. She was like, well, okay, dear, if that's what you want to do. And that
Man,
was
that
it.
is wow. She's incredibly supportive.
Yeah.
I know
She was
mothers that would
terrified.
just cry and throwing a fit about that. Why
Oh,
do you want to go so far away?
well, she knew why I wanted to go so far away. But like I said, that patriarchy. I was kind
Yeah.
of over it. And but it was a wonderful experience. I went to Pepperdine in Southern California, which was different for
I'll
me.
bet coming from DC.
Yeah, yeah. In many, many ways. I learned a whole new appreciation for DC,
Mm.
but it was great because I got to meet people I would not have met in DC,
Mm-hmm.
and experience things and realize how much my parents had given me. Like
Wow.
that's when I realized that my parents were people. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
You have that shift. And,
Yeah.
they taught me how to, I knew how to wash my clothes. I
Mm-hmm.
knew how to cook for myself. I knew how to get a job and provide for myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
So,
And I really
so I'm guessing
appreciated
you
that.
like ran into folks that did not know these basic
Oh,
life
yeah. Basic life
necessities.
skills.
Yeah. And that does shock me. I think I may have run into some woman who was like in her 20s and didn't know how to wash clothes. And I was like
Yeah.
shocked and appalled this. How do you not know how to wash your own clothes? I don't understand this.
Yeah. I mean, and you're wondering, like, how have you survived?
Right.
But
'Cause I barely
Pepperdine had,
remember a time when I didn't wash my maybe I was
yeah,
11 when I started washing my own clothes,
exactly,
but shocking.
exactly. Yeah, no, my son's 7. He has to bring him down because
Nice.
I'm getting him ready.
Get them involved in the process anyway,
There
whether
you
it's
go. He has to bring him down.
carrying the detergent, whatever.
Yep, yep, exactly. So, yeah, so that was really good. But I got to travel abroad one summer to Italy, and that was
Ooh.
Pepperdine has a bunch of overseas programs, and you could go to summer school for the exact same amount as if you stayed stateside if you could get your plane fare.
Huh.
And that's like, amazing. So
Yeah.
I got to do that one summer, and that was, life changing. That's when I realized that no, it's not just that I wanted to, get away. I love to travel, and I got to do that. We were there, and we got our little Eurail pass, and you're young, you're 19, you can
Right.
sleep on a train.
Right,
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah, you're fine.
That's a
It's like,
plan.
whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So, I got to travel to Austria, to so many different places, because we could get as far as we could get into Europe, and then we had to be back in Italy for Monday class,
Oh, that's
even if that meant
fantastic.
just a 4 a.m. train to get there. So
But like you said, you're 19 and you can do that.
that's right, you can do that. So yeah, I traveled um, all over the place, and just had a great time, and that was really important because then that set me up for some other things that I did. But that let me know back then that I loved to travel, and
Yeah, that must have been amazing.
it was for a
Did you
19-year-old
know?
girl.
No, you had mentioned that you didn't know what you wanted to study when you were going
Hmm?
when on your way to college.
Yeah,
So you just kind of went undeclared for a
I
while,
did.
or at what
I
point did you
did.
decide when you wanted to channel into social work? Is that
Well, I took my first year, um, my first semester. I did some pretty dumb things. I took a Weeder class called Human Anatomy because I'd
Mm,
always been interested in the brain and how people thought. And for me, I thought that meant that I wanted to be a neurosurgeon,
mm,
because it's the brain and you're getting in there. So I
right?
thought, oh, okay, well, I got to be somehow between I don't really know what I want to do and when I arrived, I was like, oh, well, yes, let pre-med sounds like something. And so people kept telling me, do not take the human anatomy class because it's a weeder class. And I
What does
thought,
that
really?
mean?
That means that this is a class where they scare you to death. So if you're
Oh,
unsure about whether or not
oh, a
you want to be
weeder
pre-med,
class.
a
Gotcha.
weeder, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This class will either make you sure or it'll have you running for the hills.
It'll make you.
Let me just
You'll be absolutely sure one way or the other.
one
Either
way or
yes
the
or no.
other. I was the other, mainly because I was at the beach until 3 a.m. every single night of my freshman year of school, along with my good friends that I was making. I wasn't drinking because I was never
Mm,
really a drinker. But
mm.
man, growing up in D.C., we didn't go to the beach. I
Right.
think maybe twice as a kid. So being able to see the ocean every day was
Yeah.
amazing. And like a dummy, I set up all my classes like high school. So I had an 8 a.m. class and a 9. It was just so dumb. And I didn't listen to anybody. I was like, they just have low expectations. I can do it. Hard-headed. So I signed up for human anatomy, and I had my classes running from 8 a.m. to 3:30 like a fool.
Oh, girl.
So, yes, you see where this is going right away.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
Cerece didn't really do a lot of time studying, and I might have been an incredible doctor, but I failed my human anatomy class. 4 credits, big 0. And
Ouch.
yes, yes, I was on academic probation by
Ooh.
the time. Yes, remember I got a scholarship.
Yeah.
So, and not only was I on like all my friends, all of us who were at the beach till 3 o'clock in the morning. We were all on academic probation. Christmas
Mm-hmm.
break came, and we were rushing home to get the mail because we didn't want our parents to know that we were about to get kicked out our first semester. Yes, dear. So
Wow.
yes, that was my first semester at Pepperdine. Anyway, so from that experience that I could fail a class, I mean, it was shocking. Like I just figured, I could kind of finesse it, maybe.
Right.
But the thing
Wrong.
about human anatomy is it either is an ulna or it isn't.
Exactly.
There's no
There's
finessing.
exactly a right or wrong answer. There's
Exactly.
absolutely right or wrong.
Wrong answer. Yeah, so it's not like English lit where it could just be my
Right.
interpretation. Right. So I learned that the hard way and decided ran for the hills after human
Ah,
anatomy. But I
nice.
also took a bachelor's in psychology, psychology 101 class, and I loved that. Even though I
Ah,
didn't
yeah.
study, I did
Mm.
really, really well.
Mm.
And because I just retained everything, in the
Mm-hmm.
lecture, I loved it. And so that's what got me thinking, well, maybe I'm not so much interested in the mechanics of the brain, but more
Mm-hmm.
like how people come to the decisions they make and how really a community like mine gets to be the way it is. And
Nice.
so I spent about 3 or 4 years, 3 years, getting a psychology, doing my psychology courses, and then I realized I took, I think, like a social justice or something like independent study.
Mm-hmm.
Because after my first semester, I got myself on the ball because I could not lose my scholarship
No,
and
girl.
end up back in patriarchy. So I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I have to
Let me
clean
get
my act up real quick.
real quick. So I was on the straight and narrow after my first semester. So anyway, yeah, so I think I took that, and then I realized, you know what? I would not be a good psychologist because you have, really to to make money in the field and do well, you got to get your PhD. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't want to sit all day and listen to people tell me their problems. I think
Mm-hmm.
after 6 months, I'd be like, "Really? Are we still here? Okay, you need to get out of my office." And I was
It's
like,
like start
that's not
shaking
good."
people, grabbing people
Yes,
by the shoulders
like
and shaking them.
my psychologist kicked me out. I mean, which I could totally see myself doing. Okay, I can't. You know what? I don't have anything else to
You
say.
know what? I can't do this
You
with
know,
you anymore.
it's
Anymore.
where you're wearing me out. So I was like, okay, let me get. Maybe what I'm interested in is helping communities fix themselves so that
Mm-hmm.
they don't need somebody like me. Like there is a support system within that community. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's what led me into social work. And that
Okay.
was absolutely the right path for me.
Okay.
So,
So you got into social work. So how did we get to an author? How did we come upon?
oh, that is, well, I don't even know. I'm not even sure if I can. I've been writing poetry since I was like 11, 12 years old.
Oh, okay.
But I never shared it with anybody, never wanted to, never thought of myself as a writer. That was just sort of me expressing. So social work, that was really rewarding. Um, I got into international development as well. That was really rewarding. I didn't have any plans of doing anything else except I had an idea for a short story that
Mm-hmm.
was a fan fiction piece.
And when was this?
Um, this was 2010.
Oh, wow. This is fairly recent.
Yeah. No, when I say I had no plans, I really mean. So, I had been telling myself always that through the years with me writing my poetry, that I didn't have the attention span to write anything longer than a couple pages.
Mm-hmm.
Why I was telling myself that, I don't know. But so when I had this story idea, the minute I'd start to think about it, I'd start shooting myself down. Oh, you can't do it, Cerece.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the attention span. That. And
Been
January
there.
1st, yeah, January 1st, 2010, I woke up in the morning and the first thing I thought was about this story that I wanted to write. And immediately I started the tape. You can't do it. You can't. And I'm a deeply spiritual, though not at all religious person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just heard God say to me, "Why are you doing that?"
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the bed for about an hour as God and I were just having this conversation about all these times in my life where a door had been opened to me and I refused to go through it because of my own self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Not just, from a kid to like an adult. Like I remember taking, a photography class, and the photography professor wanted to enter one of my photos in a show, and I wouldn't give it to her.
What?
Because I was like, no, it's not good. It's not good.
Are you serious?
And my best friend
Wow.
was like, "You're a dumb." Do you curse on your show? I'm gonna
Sure,
keep it clean.
yeah.
You're a dummy. You know what I mean? What's wrong with you? But I would do that. Period. And that morning, God just kind of wore me out with it. Like
It's like,
all
no more. No more.
Yeah, and at the end of that hour,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no more. If there is a door that is open, I'm going to walk through it, whether I think I'm worthy of it, whether I think I can do it, whatever. I'm going to start this story. Who cares if I don't finish? Like, Martha Stewart is not coming over to be like, oh, Cerece, you only got 200 words written today. I like, who cares?
Right.
You know what I mean? I was like, just try. If there's a door open, if there's an opportunity, you're going to walk through it. So I got up, I got my notebook out, and I wrote my first short story in 2.5 weeks by hand. It was pure joy from beginning to end. I loved every single. I can still remember everything about that experience.
Wow.
It was wonderful.
And go ahead.
So I posted. I found somebody to help me edit it. She said she liked it. I was like, wow. Because the cake, the frosting was writing it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I turned over, and somebody else said that was just like a cherry. But the true joy, and this is still true for me, the true joy of what I do is that I love it.
Mm.
I'm so grateful. Like, with the last order of the Seers book, I couldn't wait to finish it because I couldn't wait to read it. And see how it ended. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I mean, I knew, that I had the bare bones of how it would end, but like the writing, the characters are always surprising me. I am the audience.
That's
and
fantastic.
sort of the conduit. But it's just, so I couldn't wait to finish it because I really wanted to read it.
Uh-huh.
And that has not changed at all. It just gets more and more true the more, external things and other things happen. So, yeah, so I was like, oh, wow, that's cool. And, so I posted it and people got it. They liked it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, wow, this is so much fun. Too bad I'm not a writer. Yeah.
Wrong.
Yeah, I seriously said that. And so my friend, my editor, said, so what's next, Cerece? And I said, oh, nothing. I'm not a writer. That was just like my one shot. I blew my wad. I don't have anything else. You know what I mean? And I really didn't think that anything was going to happen until 6 months later. I was washing the dishes, and I got this vision. I mean, really, as I was washing the dishes, I saw this man walking towards me. He had this cataract film over his eyes and ash blonde hair, even though he was a black man from Tanzania. I knew that he was a seer. I knew that he was enslaved for that ability. I knew that there was an organization called the Guild. I had that name as I was washing the dishes that was using this drug called Iridium to access his powers and control him. And I knew that, like, that word was there. And this whole world came to me as I was washing the dishes. And
wow.
I had been a sci-fi fan since my mom took me to see Empire Strikes Back in the theater when I was, 7.
Uh-huh.
Like, Yoda was my first crush. Like, that solidified sci-fi for me. It's like the height of storytelling. And I mean that. Nothing gets me like a sci-fi story. So to have an original idea for a sci-fi story was something I would never, God knows how to speak to me. If you give me something else, I'd be like, oh, well, that's somebody else would write that. But I was like, oh my God, this is so much. I mean, I would never let that go.
Right.
So my husband came home from the grocery store, and I turned around and I said, I have a sci-fi story. And he was like, what are you talking about? It's been like an hour. I've been going an hour. Now you were writing sci-fi? Like, what happened? And I told him the story, and he was like, oh, wow. And he's like, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to try to write it. and that's how I got here.
Wow. Okay, so let's back it up just a pinch here. You said
Yeah.
that your first short story that you wrote was fan fiction, or
Yeah, it
was
was fan fiction.
okay. Well, would you like to share what fan fiction that was from?
Oh yeah, sure. It was a fan fiction piece. It was a romance with
Mm-hmm.
supernatural elements, which is my favorite kind of romance.
Mm-hmm.
Which combined, it was really a retelling of this Hallmark movie called The Love Letter. That's right. With Twilight characters. There you go. Bam.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that was my first short story. It's called Spirit to Flesh, and it is still up under my pen name, Little Wing 2. There
Little
you go.
Wing too.
Little Wing 2.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up because.
Yeah, it's on my. There's a link on my website. You
Oh,
check
excellent.
it out. But that was my first short story. The first
Okay.
like fan fiction piece that I ever wrote was a 5-page. And I just looked it up. I wrote it in, I think, 1999 or 98. That accompanied the X-Files.
Oh, really?
Huge, huge X-Files fan.
Are you?
I wouldn't. Oh my God!
That's funny because
I
right
realized,
before this, I was watching I just started watching the X-Files because I've never seen it. Yeah, I've never
oh my
seen
God!
it. So I'm like on season 2 right now. So I was
Are
watching
you
an
loving it?
episode. I'm getting there. Like the first season was just like, I mean, I'm into it enough as to where I will keep going. So.
Oh my gosh! Season 4 and 5 are incredible.
Are they?
Okay, well, okay. All right. I'm a little.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited for you to be experiencing it, and it's a little wonky because now special effects and stuff are so much better. But
Right.
I'm a huge X-Files fan. Okay.
Wow.
I mean, I
What
would
do you
not
guys?
go
You
to
call
the
yourselves
club.
Files? I think it is. Is it
Oh
Files?
yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, and now they have, the resurrection of the series
Right.
coming up, and I'm thinking, my gosh, I have not planned properly. It's already almost October, and I haven't rewatched all the scenes. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do this so that I can
Yeah.
be current.
Yeah.
Before, I mean, I have my favorite episodes like memorized. That's no problem. But I should still have, a sharper sense of the mythology.
Yeah.
Girl, don't get me started.
You are
Don't
really
get me
you're
started.
slacking. Actually,
I'm so slacking.
when I started watching them, it like corresponded with somebody. I had read something online, and it was like if you start rewatching them now. If you watch one a day, you'll be able to be right up on it, like as soon as the new ones start.
Yes. That was this summer. I think it was August sometime
Yeah.
you should have started. Yeah, I remember seeing that. And I was like, well, honestly, I thought, well, that's, because I'm going to binge, of course.
Right.
You don't just,
right. You can't
you're
just
not
watch
a lover
one
of
episode.
X-Files. You're not yeah. You're not an X-Filer, and you just watch one episode. Like, I could, do a season in a night if I get ready.
So
anyway,
I just saw David Duchovny perform Sunday at a club.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, he was staying with his band at the Ulcer Bar here in Pittsburgh on Sunday.
And how was he?
I mean, it wasn't terrible. I got my tickets for free. I had fun.
Oh, wow.
And
so is he singing or what is he doing?
He's singing, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't occur to me that, God bless him. Live your dream, right?
Right. Like my friends and I were like saying, it's much easier to swallow if you imagine this as something Hank Moody is doing for extra money.
That's funny. Well, I'm of the opinion that sometimes you just want to know your favorite. You want to love your character.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the actor. And
right.
so I like to keep a fair amount of distance, actually. The more I love the character, the less I want to know about the actor. You know what I mean? Because
that's pretty smart.
Yeah. And so I'm a fan of Mulder and Scully. Or rather, let me rephrase. I'm a fan of Scully and Mulder.
Nice.
I'm, David, I don't know that man. You know what I mean? God bless him. Thank you for bringing me Mulder.
Right.
And let's just leave it at that. You know
No,
what I'm saying? I don't need to know nothing else about
right.
you.
Plus, I mean, I do find him to be rather attractive too, and he's a very It was also very nice to like watch him in motion from like 5 feet away. So I mean, yeah, but so I digress.
Yeah, that's all
um,
right. That's all right. I mean,
uh,
Mulder's got great lips.
yes, he
So,
does. I love his little
yes.
like he's got like a weird like crooked overbite
Yes,
mouth like
pout thing.
it's yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I'm with
fantastic.
that. I'm
Yeah.
with that.
So,
Right.
for those who are not familiar, tell us about Order of the Seers.
Oh gosh. Okay. So Order of the Seers is a sci-fi trilogy about a group of people who can see the future and they're enslaved for that ability. And the book's all about how they escape the organization that's trying to exploit their gift, how they reclaim their power, and ultimately start fighting back. Um, I would say, the first book is very much a personal journey of the Seers, just being enslaved and just trying to free themselves as individual characters. By the second book, they understand their power is meant for more than just sort of their own individual freedom,
Hmm.
and that they need to, respond to whatever that larger calling is. By the third book, they are responding in full force and fighting a lot of forces that they've unearthed through their own powers and are making sacrifices to do the right thing. So it's very I like the, thanks. So yeah, I like the arc from sort of a personal journey to a global journey because I that resonates with me.
Nice. And all 3 books are available. They're all
They
out
are.
and about and all that. How do you feel? Because I know it was recently that the third one you finished. That
Yes.
was it like last year, was it?
Yeah, October. It came out actually September 30th will be the year anniversary
Was it
of
like
the
giving
third book.
birth?
Oh man, it was so. I'll tell you, I didn't know how that third book was going to get finished. It was because I was writing it during the winter from hell,
Yeah,
where it
yeah, that's right.
snowed every single week, all like not just a little. And well,
Mm,
mind you, I mean you're in Philly, so you know real snow. But we're in
Pittsburgh,
DC.
but yeah.
We don't Pittsburgh. That's right.
Mm.
We don't know real snow. We know kind of snow. The snow
Really?
you just step over
Yeah.
like will shut us down all winter.
Oh my God, I had no idea you guys were that
Oh, it's
delicate.
pitiful. No, Obama was right. Remember that first term, and he said something. He's like, "Schools are closed. Y'all need to toughen up." And everybody in D.C. was like, "Yeah, he was right. We are pathetic. That's a fact. Yes, okay. Yes, we are pathetic. That's a fact." And I learned that in Boston, where
Oh,
they do real snow.
yeah.
Like they
We'll learn
don't
fast
play.
in Boston. Woo.
Yes, you will. But that's a whole other thing. So anyway, it snowed and school was closed and the kids were home from school at least 1 to 2 days every single week of the winter. And I only need one thing to write.
Mm-hmm.
Quiet.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I need. I don't need a special pen. I don't need music. I could write by hand. I don't even need a computer. I do need quiet.
Mm.
And when your kids are home 2 to 3, at least 2
Yeah.
days every week, you can't get any quiet. And things get backed up, and you literally, I was sad, I was mad, I was depressed, I was angry, I was just beside myself because I really felt, and nobody was pressuring me. It's, I'm the worst boss
Mm-hmm.
I've ever had, by far. I'm
Yeah.
the worst boss I've ever had. It's just this sense of, I've written the second book and I left it at a cliffhanger. And I just felt, I hated doing that, but I just couldn't write the third book quick enough. And so it was just pressure. Like, I don't want to keep people waiting. I don't want to keep people waiting. And I'll tell you, there's something worse than waiting as a reader. It's making people wait as a writer.
Oh yeah, I'll
It
bet.
is and I will never do it again. I have a 2-part space opera that I've planned. I've already outlined it. And I can tell you right now, it will not be released until both are written. I don't care
How
if it
long?
takes me 10 years.
How long was it between book 2 and 3?
A year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean, I don't write quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I write now that I've realized, because what happened was I just got so desperate I started writing the third book by hand,
Oh,
which I
man.
hadn't done since my fan fiction short story. Um, you know, but I was so desperate to just get some, because I could always have a notebook around. 10
Mm-hmm.
minutes of quiet. Oh, I'll try to write a scene. You know what I mean? So I just started writing it by hand, and I found I write a lot faster by hand than I do.
Really?
Yeah, I'm an analog girl. It makes sense. That's just how my brain works.
Yeah,
Um,
to this day, I still, when I take notes, they're by hand. Like, I don't do like the iPad or the
oh
anything
no,
like that. Like
no.
that does slow me down.
Yeah, no. My husband's like, come on, I have this big old phone. I mean, this big ass phone. People are like, you got a book. And but I carry around a little notebook. And my
Hmm.
husband's like, hello, sweet. I got the little stylus thing. It's got all these little features.
Right.
I have no idea what my phone does. It answers calls and I get email. There you go. Anything else? I can't help you. But I mean, it's just, yeah, it's not right unless I'm, I'm feeling that drag of the pen on the paper. That
Mm.
makes sense to me. So in desperation, I started writing it by hand. And I wrote a lot faster. And I went on vacation with my husband and wrote 5 chapters in 5 days.
Ooh,
Now that never, like, I'd be glad. My normal pace is a chapter a week,
really?
and I think I'm booking. Yes, if I can get a chapter a week, you know. And it's not necessarily long chapters. I don't really write long chapters either. So, I mean, we're not talking about a tome here, but I'm like, woo! I'm really excited if I can knock out a chapter a week. So to write 5 chapters in 5 days
Yeah,
was
man.
just it. I was like,
You
see,
must have been
what
doing like
happens when I'm quiet?
Rocky. Yeah,
No one's
like doing
calling
the
my
Rocky
yeah.
celebration. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, yeah, it was and it was a mad dash to the finish line,
Mm,
and it was I learned a lot from that experience. Let's just put it that way. I will not do that to myself again
mm-hmm.
because
Well,
it didn't allow me to enjoy the journey of
oh.
completing something that meant and means so much to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, you
Instead, I
got
was
her
just on
done.
this mad race. Yeah, but I
You
got it
got her done.
done.
And
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Because,
Thank you so much.
that's like one book alone, but a trilogy, man, and it's just yeah, I am in awe of you to be able to do such a thing. And now you have moved on to a children's book,
Yes.
Ellis and
Yes.
the Magic Mirror.
Yep.
What is
Yep.
this about?
Oh, Ellis and the Magic Mirror is about a little boy who finds an ancient magical mirror and discovers that there are trolls at his school
Mm.
hiding out and trying to stop children from learning.
Oh.
And the book takes you on a journey as Ellis, his best friend Toro, and his little sister Freddie go into the woods to find out what's up with these trolls and try to stop what they have planned. So that is the story in a nutshell without giving too much away.
Right.
It's a 5 chapter early reader
Oh.
chapter book. Yeah, I wrote it with my son and for my son.
Oh.
Um, yeah, because he's always been a good reader.
Mm.
But when it came to transitioning from storybook to chapter book, he was really reluctant. And I
Mm.
asked him why, and he said, "Well, there are no pictures, and there are all these words, mommy."
Oh.
And so he picked up one day. He picked up copy of Order of Seers, the first book, the trilogy, and he was like, "Mommy, can I read this?" And I was like, "No, baby, that's for adults. You have to wait." And he turned to me. He said, "Well, can you write me something that I can read?" And
Oh.
I was so honored that he would
Oh.
ask. Yeah, and so I thought, yeah. And then that's when I started thinking, okay, what am I going to put into this book? And the first thing I did was I asked him, what do you want in the book? And he told me he wanted a fight scene, he wanted a skateboard, he wanted his stuffed penguin Chirpy to be in the book. I said, okay. I put that together, and I put together a story, and I pitched it to him. And he told me what he liked and he didn't like about it. I changed it. And then I wrote the chapter outline. And this is the process I do. All of my books I do this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote a chapter outline, and I pitched the chapter outline to him so that he would know how the story would progress. And
Mm-hmm.
he is really great at constructive feedback. He's
Oh.
like, okay, I like this, Mommy, but I don't like this. I think this should happen here and there. And I changed it based on what he said. And then I started writing the chapters. I gave him each chapter I finished because I wanted to see can he read it? What
Uh-huh.
words he might be struggling with and all that, and does it flow? And he gave me edits based on those, and then and that's how I did the first draft.
Oh
Yeah,
my God.
so
That is so great. I love
it was
I love everything about that production story.
it was a wonderful experience, and it continues to be. Then I worked with a wonderful illustrator by the name of Greg Garay, and he was willing to work with me, and REA approved all the character sketches,
Mm-hmm.
and he picked the cover, and he helped design the trolls and what they look like, because Greg had one idea, and then I showed it to REA, and REA was like, no, why can't they look like this? And Greg was like, oh, well, how do you mean? And REA described it, and Greg changed it.
Oh man.
Yeah, so it was really, really great. It was a really great experience. So it's a 5-part series.
Okay, I was
And
just gonna
he's
ask
already
you.
asking me. Yeah, he's like, where's the next book, Mommy? And I'm like, well, baby, I just finished the first one. Give Mommy a moment.
Right. And it sounds like he's going to be the next hardest boss that you have outside of
Oh my
yourself.
gosh, yes. But luckily, he might be the CEO, but I am the chairman, the chairwoman.
Chairwoman.
And so, that only will go so far. I can back him up. I got some control. But yes, the next story is apparently going to be an underwater adventure with a submarine that somehow the mom in the story is driving. So I don't know how that's all going to work out, but that's what we're going to do.
Oh, that's awesome. And I am most definitely going to be purchasing this book for any friends that have kids. And
thank you.
For the longest time, that was my my thing when at like baby showers and for like new baby gifts, I would always give a copy of Fox and Socks by Dr. Seuss. That was
awesome.
that was my baby shower gift all the time because that was like my favorite book growing up as a child.
Nice.
But now it might be time to like scoot it on over and then start giving Ellis and the Magic Mirror like the first reader there.
Oh, thank you. Well, you know what? I love that.
What
I can't lie.
I know. Don't. I mean, take it in. Let it wash over you. It's fine.
There you go. I am.
What is the legacy that you would like to leave behind?
Having made the world a better place.
Mm.
And children, for all the children who are, here now, and it's not their fault what we're doing to our environment, to our world.
Right.
But I can't hand them less than what I got.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I will be able to give them more than what I got, but I got to try. As long as I'm here, I've got to try.
Amen. Amen. I would like to think that more. I would wish more people would like to think that way in those matters. What haven't you done yet that you really want to do?
I'm so scared to do it. I don't even know if I can tell you. Well, I already that. No, it's gosh. No, seriously.
What do you? It's okay. You're in a safe space.
That's right. It's just. I love it. I love to act in a play. I want to play Lady Macbeth.
Really?
Yeah, because she is badass.
That's fascinating. And I feel like this time next year, I'm going to be seeing a post on your Facebook page. Hey guys, come check me out as Lady Macbeth.
No, I almost everything else that I would, that, and then I want to be the oldest Secretary General for the UN.
The oldest?
The oldest.
Okay.
I think I could swing that. I think I could swing that. I've I'm not going to be the youngest. I'm not going to be, the first woman. I'm not,
Just want to break some
all
records
those
wherever
have
I
passed.
can.
All those have passed. And I think I could be really effective as the oldest. When
Well,
you
there's
get
a lot
to
of
like
experience.
95 and you just don't care. You know what I mean? You don't care what you
Yes.
say.
You
I'm
just let it all out there, just
let
like
it
whatever.
all out.
All
The
the
UN
truth.
needs a very old Secretary General.
For real.
Who's just like, all of y'all.
I'd have had about enough for
You know
every
it,
last
I
one of
know
you.
it. Translate that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, they need somebody.
Yes.
They don't have a career after this. They're planning to die after
Right,
this.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
They're not worried about job security.
No,
They're not worried
they got
about hurt
nothing
feelings.
of their retirement. They're already living off their retirement. This is
Right.
like volunteer time. In between dialysis. That's what they're doing. That is my aspiration. That is my highest calling, is to be the oldest Secretary General for the UN. And I just need, they probably wouldn't give me more than 2 weeks, but I could do a lot in those 2 weeks. I could do a lot before they're like, you know what? By executive order, we have the special, the executive committee has convened and you are senile. But I've got a good 2 weeks before that happens, and I think that I could do a lot.
I love it. I'm down. I'm down with that. If
I
can help you in any way, shape, or form, I will be on there.
There you go.
What types of things, what is your form of self-care? Like once you're, because I know there's a lot of stuff, you're busy and running around, and even with children, I know it can become difficult to find me time.
I just went on a spiritual retreat to Sedona that honestly changed my life.
Really?
Yeah, it changed me in a beautiful way. And one of the things that I've learned and done since then is I meditate. I meditate for 10 minutes every day. I did that this morning, and I'll be honest, I don't always get it. Sometimes things get rolled over, but I try not to let more than 2 days go by. And it has just been a powerful reminder of my own importance, in my life. And, with kids and, family and, duties and all that, it can be very easy to become the last thing on your list.
Right.
And I for years, I've given lip service to, you are what you have to give. If you are depleted, literally, you have nothing to give.
Right.
So you can't let that happen. You can't, because you are your engine. And so for so many women, we are the engine in our families. So if we break down, literally everything is going. And so you have to take care of the engine. You have to take care of yourself. And I used to say that, but the spiritual retreat really helped me operationalize a lot of ways to make that real. And the meditation is really a powerful way, because there's nothing you're doing. You know what I mean? You're literally just sitting there, which you would usually have a hard time allowing yourself to do.
Yeah.
Just sit there. You need to be sitting and thinking. You need to be multitasking and planning and plotting for world domination. But, you don't, when you meditate, you just sit there.
Yeah.
And everybody has to wait. Until you finish sitting there. You totally have that right.
Absolutely.
Now, I look at it now as me getting so that I can give. And so, that's the big thing that I'm doing now.
That is a magnificent thing, and it's absolutely mostly important. You need to reboot and reset every once in a while. Just get everything right in your head and in your spirit before you can go on to help everyone else the rest of your family become the best people that they can be. We are going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back with your top 5.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we are back, and we are going to get into our top 5. I have asked Cerece to compile her list of top 5 sci-fi films because she is apparently a sci-fi geek. Is that correct? Is that correct in
I
saying?
am and proud.
Now, yeah. So I also make a list, and it was a little bit difficult
Ooh.
for me to make a list because I am not that big into sci-fi per se. And
Okay.
I even had to go so far as to Google sci-fi movies because apparently there's a lot of things that are sci-fi that I just didn't absolutely consider that. So I
Yeah,
had to go
yeah.
through there. So
That's
give
all
me
right.
your list, and then I'll give
All
you
right, number 1, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. It's
mine.
epic in every single way. And my list is not just sci-fi movies, but like the sci-fi movies that changed me, that had a real
Okay.
impact on kind of who I am. And yeah, Empire Strikes Back. I mean, the whole Star Wars, mythology was powerful for me. It influenced, so many things. So many of my even spiritual beliefs
Oh wow.
were influenced by. Yeah, no, it was pivotal for me. So definitely Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. 2, The Matrix. First movie. I mean, the other, I enjoyed them all, but I will never forget being in the theater and watching that first 3 minutes.
Mm.
I mean, it was just game changing. I mean,
Yeah, I don't really
yeah.
remember that. I don't remember that. I've only seen The
No,
Matrix
it's
one
all right.
time. I did see it in the
Oh,
theater.
okay. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We'll get you there.
Can we
We'll get
can we
you
still
there.
be friends?
Yes, we can. My best friend called a lightsaber a lasso. I
Oh
was just
no.
like, how? Yes.
Wow.
And she's my. I mean, luckily we've known each other since we were 5, and we're 7 days apart in our birthdays.
Oh
I was like,
man.
I might disown you. What did you just say? She was like, oh, Cerece, just calm down.
I'm gonna
So
need you to step out of my presence for about 5 minutes now.
basically.
I need some alone time.
I need some alone. She needs a timeout. Forget
Right.
me. She should be banished. And I realized I hadn't been a good friend because good friends don't
Let friends call a
not,
lightsaber a lasso.
exactly. But I blamed her first. So, yes. The Matrix, the first 3 minutes, it was just mind blowing. I mean, I loved everything about that story. Um, and it was just, it was just thought provoking. Visually, it was something I hadn't seen before. I love the diversity in it. So,
Mhm.
and as that continued throughout the whole series, so I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Lord of the Rings,
No.
and I'm gonna have to say the whole thing. I own the extended edition DVDs. I own the movie versions. We quoted Lord of the Rings during our wedding ceremony.
Shut
Um,
up.
yes, yes.
That is
My husband and
adorably
I used
geeky. I
to.
love it.
Oh, thank you. That's a compliment. I don't know how you meant it, but I'm gonna
No,
take
it's
it that
definitely
way.
yeah, no, because that would be something that like I actually compared. Have you seen the show Psych on USA?
Oh, I've heard of it, but
Well, like I
yeah.
actually like my husband. I love that show, and I actually like quoted that or like referenced it in our wedding vows. So
There you go.
I know what you're
There you
saying.
go. You know. See, you have the geek in you.
Yes,
You
I
gotta
get
bring
it.
it out. You gotta bring it out. Yes. So, my husband and I watched on the phone. We did a Lord of the Rings date, watching the extended edition, which is over 3 hours.
On the
Like
phone.
no problem on the phone because he was in Philly at the time.
Oh.
And anyway, yes, and we're just anyway. Peter Jackson's a genius. I love him. So, and I had not before I saw Fellowship. I had not read the books, which is
Oh,
crazy.
really?
Somehow I missed, Cerece and her cluelessness. But let me just say that after my friend Mikey was like, "They're books," and I was like, "What?" I ran out and I bought the the two towers. Just the two towers. I don't know if I was being cheap or what. But anyway, I devoured that book. My car broke
Really?
down. I called my mother. I was like, I need you to take me to the bookstore. I'm at the end of Two Towers. I need Return of the King. And my mom came and got me
That
like
is
a
so
grown-ass
cute.
woman and got Return of the King. We didn't even talk. She dropped me off. I was like, thank you, peace. I'm in the middle of reading. And I think I read it. And it was just, anyway, so, Lord of the Rings. Yes, lots of pathetic little tales.
Oh man, I love it.
This is
I
the
love
real
it.
Cerise. The really real. Anyway, Inception. I'm a Chris Nolan fan.
Word.
But I thought he did something with Inception that was truly, I love stuff that's thought-provoking, that's mind-bending and challenges your perception of reality. And The Matrix did that for me. Inception did that for me. Lord of the Rings, I think what I loved about it, it's just an epic story. You know what I mean?
That
of love
it
and
is.
friendship, and yeah. So I love that. Okay, so I'm at 4. All right, I'm just gonna keep on going because hey, go ahead. I'm gonna say Blade Runner for my 5th, just because I remember my mom took us to see Blade Runner in the theater when we were probably too young to see it. She thought I think Mom didn't really know what it was, because I just remember her through the movie go, what is this? Oh my God, what is this? And she kept turning to me like, what is going on? I'm like, well, right now what's happening is he doesn't know that she's I was there. Explaining to my mom what was going on with Blade Runner. And I think it expanded my idea of sci-fi because it was so gritty, and it was, I remember looking at it and thinking, this is real world, but not real world. Like, Star Wars is pure fantasy. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I love this could be our world.
Right.
Proposition in Blade Runner. And that contemporary sci-fi is my favorite type of sci-fi because that's one of the things I love about Matrix. You know, when you walk out of the theater, you're like, now, wait a minute. You know what I mean? You're looking around like, are you? Like, that's a profound thing. It's not often that you challenge what your eyes tell you. But we should all the time. You know what I mean? And I love that about Blade Runner, is that it just kind of showed me the future but in a very contemporary and real way that challenged me as a child. So that's 5, but I'm going to go on. Can I go on? Can I just be trifling?
No? Just for a second. You know that they're doing a Blade Runner Part 2? They're doing a sequel?
I do know that. I'm not a fan of resurrection, you know, in terms of, I think certain things should just be left alone.
Right. Sometimes I'm only reason why I care because Ryan Gosling talks about him being in it. So
Ryan can do what he wants. I hadn't heard
that's
that
what I'm
because
saying.
I was kind of like, but no, Ryan Gosling, yeah, I'm there. I'll do that.
There it is.
So, yay!
Okay, so go on.
Ryan Gosling, yeah, and we'll be there.
Yes.
Just some honorable mentions.
Okay.
Dune. Now, I know that Dune is one of my favorite books. I mean, it's top 2. It's that and Octavia Butler's Wild Seed in terms of, pivotal sci-fi literature for me. I know the ABBA soundtrack, really got people off, and Sting was in it. It didn't even matter. The ideas in Dune are just amazing, and I think David Lynch is one of my favorite directors just because he's so original in his presentation.
So out there.
So ideas. So I really love that. And with that, honorable mention, Twin Peaks, the series.
Okay.
The best things that ever came on television. I mean, it's just, again, just wonderful. The X-Files.
That's another one of those that I have to. I've started watching that one for the first time too.
Yeah, it's odd. It's odd.
It's very odd.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've probably seen Lost Highway 5 times, and I still don't know what the hell it's about. But it's still interesting. It's visually, it's very appealing. That and there were a couple other, most of David Lynch's stuff is visually appealing and or just heavy, really character heavy, like really
Yes.
strange character heavy, which is
Yep.
I enjoy that. If I don't, even if I don't really know what's going on in the story, like I enjoy learning who these weird ass characters
Yes.
are.
Yes. Absolutely. So I will stop there. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
not that bad a guest. There you go.
No, it's good. That was good. Sometimes you need an honorable mention or two because you
Yes,
can't
you
make
do.
your entire list. Well,
Oh
my
yeah.
list was a struggle, but I found I found five that I really
Yay.
dig. Inception, also on my
Yeah.
list.
Yep.
I absolutely loved that movie. That movie was fantastic. I loved the visual effects. I loved
Yeah.
like the going into the dream, into the dream, into the dream, and it
Same.
was
Yeah.
just. I mean, I love the fight choreography. That was like the scene with Joseph
Yes.
Gordon-Levitt on the walls,
Oh
and
my
it's
gosh. Yeah.
so crazy. Like I was, yeah, I loved everything about that, and even like how like the whole white scene in the snow, and all, yeah.
Yes.
So and I'm also a Christopher Nolan fan, so
Yeah.
that was
Yep.
great. Donnie Darko.
Yes.
That's an extremely weird movie, but I really dig it, and I like Jake Gyllenhaal in
Yep.
it. I think
I do
he
too.
did an amazing job as just this really creepy character. I love just like rando stuff, like why are these like the whole there's like a montage or the like the slow camera work going through the high school through the school, and they're playing Head Over Heels, I think it is, by Tears for Fears, and just like the
Yeah.
way there's like a bunch of like slow mo and then speed up action and then regular, and it's just the way that it's done, and there's like Patrick Swayze pops in there for no reason, and it's just like it's so bizarre, but I really dig
All right.
it.
All right.
The Fly with
Yes.
Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah.
That was one of the first like horror type movies that I had seen
Yep.
growing up, and that just it creeps me out to no end. Like it is
Yeah.
so gross. The makeup
Yeah.
is so gross.
Oh, I still remember. I've only seen it once, and I remember that last
Yeah,
scene exactly.
yeah. I
It's the best
know
thing
for
Jeff
sure.
Goldblum's ever done.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know for sure. I haven't seen it more than twice, but yes, I can absolutely still see like teeth pulling. Yeah. So yeah, bravo Goldblum.
Yes.
And number four, Mad Max.
Yes.
The remake. I don't.
Really.
I know I've seen the first or the one with Tina Turner,
Mhm.
but that was years upon years upon years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't really recall it, but I did go to the theater to see this new one, this reboot, and it was amazing. Um, I just the fact that you go in there thinking that it's going to be about this, the hero is basically going to be this man named Max, and but
Yeah.
Tom Hardy has maybe a page of dialogue in the entire
Yeah.
film, and Charlize Theron, and it's very like strong female
Yeah.
centered, and
No,
it's
she does a
just
great job.
yeah, like everything, like and the cinematography was amazing, and
Oh
I
yeah.
loved that movie.
Yeah.
And I actually saw it like because we didn't have a choice at the time we were going to see it. We had to watch it in 3D, and usually I'm anti 3D, but even 3D, it was fucking awesome. Like it was just amazing. Like I really got into it.
Can I
And
ask
then
you
last,
why you're anti 3D? Oh, I'm sorry.
no, that's like way back when. Remember when we used to get like those 3D the paper glasses,
Yes,
when
I
3D
remember
was.
them.
So
Yep.
I think maybe the first one I saw was like maybe Jaws or something, or maybe it was like a horror, like one of the old like Frankenstein movies or Elvira episode or something. I don't remember exactly what the first one was I saw, but I do remember that experience, and I really dug it. I liked it,
Yeah.
when I was a child, and that was great. And then when the resurgence, when like maybe 10 years ago, when they were like, we're bringing back 3D,
Yeah.
and they did Avatar.
Yes.
I saw that in 3D, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. I
Yep.
felt kind of like nauseous about it afterwards.
Oh wow. Okay.
I didn't like it. And then I saw Fright Night in
Ooh.
3D because I had like free passes or something, but it was 3D. So I saw it, and it was like the 3D was there was no use for it. It was just put in there to say that it was 3D, and I hate like wasted three,
Yeah.
like it's just like
Yeah.
just doing it just to say you're doing it. Like this is absolutely unnecessary. The movie was fine without it. So yeah, and when you watch the movie non 3D, you can absolutely see
Yeah.
where the 3D is supposed to be. So that just
Yeah.
kind of bugged me. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I understand. I'm in agreement, actually.
Okay. And lastly, Star Wars, the original, uh, because that I'm not. I wouldn't call myself like a huge Star Wars. I couldn't tell you facts or figures about the movies. I remember them coming out when I was little, and I remember seeing them. I remember playing, like recreating. Like we didn't have the action figures or dolls, but like my neighbors and we would like play like Princess Leia and Luke, and that's what we would be imagining ourselves as we're like running around through the backyard and stuff. And so that just kind of had a really big impact on my childhood. And for that, I appreciate those movies. And I'll still watch like Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, and Empire Strikes Back. But those, I guess what they're called,
Yeah.
the first ones now.
Yeah.
And I tried to watch two of them, and I was like physically angry.
Wow.
I
And
was,
you wouldn't
I
call
like,
yourself a fan.
right,
Like,
exactly.
a hardcore fan.
Exactly. I like stood up in an outrage. Oh, what is this?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. My feeling on those, I've watched them all because I had to.
Mhm.
I just, yeah. Someone asked me, oh, well, what are you looking forward to in the new Star Wars? And I was like, it doesn't really. I mean, I can tell you what I want to see, but it doesn't even matter. Like, I'm going. That's
Mhm.
just, I'm branded
Right.
Star Wars.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, so
We'll definitely go see it because I know my husband's pretty geeked about it. So I
yeah,
mean, I'll
it looks
definitely
like
go
it's
see
gonna.
him.
Well, JJ won't do a terrible job. We know that.
No. Right.
It might not be what you want, but it's not going to be like, oh my God, you know what I mean? This is terrible. So that's good enough for me. Especially after the most recent Star Wars, where you're just like, wow, this is kind of bad, But I don't watch them. I mean, my husband will still watch some of them, but I saw them. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They're in my mental Rolodex, but
Right.
I'll probably never watch them. We own them.
Now,
So.
have you watched them in order that they're supposed to be? Like,
No,
this
no.
okay. So I was just
Well,
wondering.
no, that's not true. That's not true. Once I finished watching episode 3,
Mhm.
and I was so disappointed that I was
Mhm.
like, okay, Cerise, this is not the real Star Wars. And I turned on the new ones, and I was back. I was back because I had to. I had to cleanse my palate of the new ones by watching all of the old ones. So yes,
Yeah.
I did do that once. Yeah, it's
And
okay.
is it? I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. One of these days, I will do that just to see how the story goes, because I'm just kind of
Yeah,
interested in how it flows if we were to
you
have seen
can,
it.
but you don't need to. You don't
It
need to.
doesn't mean anything really. Like it's really pointless.
No, you know what? Because that's not what you love, and particularly if physical anger was something you experienced, don't take yourself through that, girl. Just go ahead and stick with what you love.
Just let it go. It's fine.
Yeah, you don't have to. You can love the things that you love about it. You're allowed to do that. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'll accept that.
Yeah.
All right. And so before I let you go, there is one more thing. I have this book called 4,000 Questions for Getting to Know Anyone and Everyone. And I
Ooh.
pull a question out at random.
Oh,
And I'm
wow.
going to ask you that question.
Yes, yes.
Are you ready?
I am.
Where did you get engaged and how was the marriage proposal made?
Oh, wow. I got engaged at this restaurant in D.C. It was Spanish Taverna. I can't remember. I remember Taverna was the last part in the name of the restaurant.
Mm.
But they served, my husband booked a private room, and they served us paella that had fish in it, and I'm allergic to fish.
Oh, no.
But it smelled delicious. he got down on one knee and asked me to marry him.
Aww.
It was very sweet and very and he was like apologizing profusely for the paella.
How long were you guys
But
together before you proposed?
oh gosh, we were together for 2 years, but we
Oh.
broke up 2 years. Well, we were together. Yeah, I would say 2 years. The first year we broke up 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we weren't too serious. We were. He was. He just freaked me out. I mean, I'd never met anybody so nice in my life, and I didn't know why he was doing that to me. So, I naturally had to break up with him. So,
Makes
yeah,
sense.
we broke up. Yeah, it made a lot of sense to me back then. Yeah, so for a year we kept breaking up and getting back together because he was so nice, and we eventually, after a couple months, like we'd call each other, and I was like, "Why did I break up with him? He's like so nice, and we get along so well." And anyway, so we ended up getting back together. But that finally we broke up for the third time, and we thought, okay, this is ridiculous. This is it. And then he came over Thanksgiving and basically gave me the riot act about like what a bad girlfriend I was. And for some reason, I was in a mood to listen. And so I let him go on, and I was really pissed. And then I went into my kitchen, and I was like, okay, breathe. And I came back, and I was like, okay, here's where you're right, and I'm sorry. But here's where you're putting your stuff off on me, and you need to deal with that. And we ended up having this great conversation. We got back together. We got serious. And we got about a year and a half after that.
That's wonderful. I love a good love story.
Oh, I'm glad that was a good one. It's a funny one, I think, but that's good too. So yeah, that's.
No, I dig origin stories. It's good to know like that.
Well, you're good at them. I see you got me talking, girl. I hadn't thought about it in years.
Well, thank you, and thank you for joining me. We've reached our time.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful.
I agree. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to hang out with you when a microphone is not recording what we're saying, and to just chill and just talk and talk and talk. Yeah. Where can the good people find you on your websites and Twitter and things of that nature, and buy your books?
Okay. Well, everything's available on Amazon, but you can start at my website. It's www.CereceRennieMurphy.com. And if you're interested if you want a child to check out the Ellis series, Ellis and the Magic Mirror, you can go to theellisseries.com. And that's kid-friendly site. There's no adult content at all in it, but you can always start at www.CereceRennieMurphy.com and go from there. On Twitter, I'm Cerece R. Murphy, and let's see, on Facebook, Cerece Rennie Murphy. I have a Facebook page. I don't post often on Facebook, but what I post is me. That's what I care about. So.
All right. And as usual, you can check out ruggedangel.com for all sorts of content on me. And you can follow me at Twitter at @the_ruggedangel, on iTunes, SoundCloud. That's where you can get the podcasts. And thank you for tuning in. And until next time. This